solve one of the biggest mysteries, or what I assume is one of the bigger mysteries of the 2024 NBA draft, and that is the case of Ulrich Chomche. Um, he is the youngest player in the draft, won't turn 19, I believe, until December, which is absurd, and is one of the better athletes by the looks of it. 6'10", 7'4" wingspan, and seems to be kind of an unknown with less tape on him than a ton of other guys. He played in the Basketball Africa League, NBA Global Academy Africa, and then the postseason psych All-Star Game combine stuff. And he's a fascinating prospect to me. These really quote unquote raw prospects always are. So let's go break down his game and figure out is Chomche worth the hype? Because he certainly has got some. And my ultimate conclusion that I think he absolutely is worth the hype, which I was honestly kind of surprised to feel. This first segment of clips is going to come from his time in the Basketball Africa League, which is the top professional league on the continent of Africa, legitimate pros, and he looked pretty lost, out of place, especially on the defensive end, just out of position, constantly swiping around. Effort seemed kind of misplaced. Had moments where it felt like his controller turned off and he kind of just stopped focusing and really struggled to put the ball in the basket or do anything meaningful on offense. But even then, you could see the flashes where Chomche has the ability to move in a way that is very unique for 6'10 plus, where even though he gets blocked here, you can see the fluidity with Chomche moving off the dribble. Not the greatest shot selection in the whole world there. And then the flashes on defense. His length is so imposing where Chomche can just kind of be in space, and even if it looks like there's an opening with him, he closes up passing windows so fast with his length. And I think his reflexes and reactions seem to be pretty good. All things considered, there were some really good flashes in this tape. Again, this is not sped up. He is comically fast. Look at that. It looks like a fucking Roadrunner in a cartoon. How fast he's moving right there. It's genuinely crazy. But this was a couple months ago when I first watched this tape, and I'm like, it's good. He'll try stuff. He'll take open threes. This was a cool possession where I noticed that he has a little bit of passing ability, which we'll definitely get to soon. But I was like, he's probably really raw. I don't know if he's going to enter this draft. So I kind of tabled the Chomche thoughts for a while until I recently went back and watched him against players his own age or a little older with NBA Global Academy. And holy shit, this guy is kind of ridiculous. And at these levels, the athletic tools are bonkers, especially on the defensive end where he's definitely most comfortable. He does this move where he'll act like he's taking a charge and then at the last minute audible into a ridiculous block. Good discipline there, not jump, and the crazy explosion vertically off of 2 feet. You can see how high he gets, how long he is, how hard he is to shoot over. Again, here he's going to do the fake charge, and his ability to get off of the ground quickly. His vertical explosion is unreal, and though he might not have the highest vert numbers, how quickly he gets off the floor. He literally goes straight from a charge position to jumping up for a two-handed block within the span of a half second. And his reflexes and rotations help him shut off the rim. Where the second he kind of notices this drive, he's going over. You could argue he's maybe not reacting super quickly. His awareness isn't incredible. It's definitely a work in progress. I believe he's new-ish to basketball. I know Chomche grew up playing soccer and then went to NBA Global Academy. And I'm not sure at exactly what age. He's been there for at least a couple years. But you can see how once he notices, it might take him a second to read what's going on, but once he does read it, it's over. It is absolutely over, assuming you aren't already by him and at the rim, where Chompe's kind of in no man's land, and this is a bit of a tough assignment on the weak side, kind of guarding a 2v1 between the roll and then covering the shooter, but look at the acceleration, the change of direction, explosion off of 1 foot, and great tracking the ball there. Chomche said that in his Pro Insight interview, shout out to them, that he played goalie in soccer, which is horrifying to think about. this 6'10", 7'4" wingspan, just giga athlete playing goalie. And it's plays like this that make me think his defensive versatility is crazy. The basis of his prospect case is just crazy defensive upside, where he doubles, forces the drive middle, blocks this shot. His movement skill and ground coverage are absolutely absurd. His ability to change directions, moves feet on the perimeter, truly uncanny, as I hope is getting across in these clips where, again, against, I believe it's Jacob Furphy. I don't actually know if he's related to Johnny. I think so, but he's the different handedness. But again, hard closeout, changes directions immediately, blocks that jumper with his unbelievable length. These tools are truly special. And I think among guys in this class, I'm not sure if there are 2 or 3 better athletes besides Chomche. Seriously. Again, we see him first initially sliding his feet. His technique isn't perfect, but he can definitely get low and move, and he's pretty quick laterally. And then Chomche, once again, is just going to blow this shit up at the rim. Unbelievable, again. Maybe reads this a little bit late. Like, this is bad for most players. Most prospects, especially 18-year-olds, like, if this is the position where they're finally reacting, it's probably over. But very few people are as explosive and long and huge as Chomche is. And his ability to block jumpers is so devastating at this level, especially. There isn't a ton that people can do. Look at this possession. This is just ridiculous, where the amount of stuff that he does and ground that he covers makes me think that he can be like, I don't even know, like an Aaron Gordon type, Jaden McDaniels type hybrid defender, because he's already crazy long and pretty well built for his age. Chases over this pistol action and sprints down to contest this shot at the rim. It's really bonkers, the kind of stuff that he can do on the defensive end. Digs here, as we see more, like, this is just like Jason Tatum type wing small forward defense, where he's instantly helping at the nail. His size shows in the gap, forces a pass, recovers with his incredible speed and change of direction, forces a pass out to the perimeter. It's little stuff that doesn't show up in the box score. Obviously, we went over the blocks and stuff that are very loud on the box score, but even the little stuff, Chomche's awareness and team defensive feel aren't terrible. They aren't great, though. As again, he is 18, very common for young players, especially ones who are, supposedly newer to basketball. And sometimes he'll just like kind of lose engagement, and like I said earlier, it's like his controller turns off. But I definitely think this was less prevalent in the NBA Global Academy setting, and I think that's partly just because of how overwhelmingly dominant physically he is, where even in some plays that we've seen where he makes big plays at the rim, you can kind of see he's lapsing or the awareness isn't perfect, right? He's a little out of position. This is probably not going to fly in the NBA against NBA level athletes and talents. But the recovery tools are crazy, and I think the awareness isn't so bad at this stage that it's like unfixable. Defensively, I think he's going to be awesome. Like, there definitely is refinement that needs to happen, but his tools are too ridiculous for me not to bet on him. And like I said, of course there's a chance that he just isn't the IQ, I hate that word, like the feel, the awareness, the processing never really comes along, but I think I want to take the bet. But I think the really intriguing side of the ball is his offense, which I don't think I've ever seen like any draft person talk about really, but it's interesting. And that starts with his passing, which is really underrated to me. There's some comically good flashes on offense too, where Chomche is going to pump fake as like a driver on the perimeter, draw help, and hit a beautiful little laydown. Chomche can't really shoot or score, but he will try stuff, and I respect the hell out of that. He's genuinely a very good passer to cutters, where this is a very patient read from him, where Chomche doesn't initially have the read on this set play. These are like set plays, learned reads, but I think it's impressive that a guy of his athletic tools, who plays so many defensive roles, can make these kind of reads at his young age, where he's waiting for his man to pass the low defender before he zips it in there right when this defender falls asleep just for a half second. And the amount of zip that he can put on the ball really makes up for his lack of quick processing, where obviously he's just losing the ball here, which we'll get to in a little bit, but it looks like he's he probably has control and could throw it here, but he waits a beat, and because of the speed of this pass, it gets there. Whereas, again, I think some possible translation concerns where Chomche just doesn't have the greatest processing, and he doesn't read things out or feel things out in front of him super quickly. But his willingness to try complex and difficult passes is honestly awesome. And I think his like turnover and ATO numbers are really bad, but I think those are inflated by these and then his just handling stuff, which we'll get to. Where Chomche, this is, a turnover, a quote unquote bad play in the box score, but when I watch a play like this, I see that one, he has the dexterity to run pick and roll as the ball handler and hit a fairly accurate pocket pass. The confidence to try this, and that means he's gonna be confident to try and develop himself, right? Pretty solid accuracy in a tight window, just doesn't really get it through. That's a bit of a risky pass again, but I like it. The accuracy on these isn't great, but I think that's a pretty small technical thing that can improve. But I love him pushing the ball up the floor, initiating a two-man game, and then setting up this backdoor that would have possibly generated a good shot if it had been a more accurate pass. And then this outlet pass is awesome. maybe not the smartest play, but also, to be fair, his receivers, look, man, he put his hand up and then he just didn't track the ball. Like, hand goes up. You got to go up and snag that. You got to come back to the ball. Honestly, I was like gonna just be like, oh, not the greatest pass, but I'm fully on blaming this on the receiver. Like, come on, make an effort. But point being, like, he certainly has some moments where the decision making isn't great. I think I accidentally played this play twice. Yeah, where the decision making isn't spectacular, but there are legit flashes of vision and feel and the passing tools like his velocity and some of the off dribble stuff where I'm pretty optimistic about the passing if, and it's a big if, one, he can fix his ball control stuff. Because at the moment, Chomche is a total non-dribbler creator. Pretty much capitulates at any pressure on the ball, whether it's in the post or attacking closeouts. He'll just lose the handle even when there's not pressure. And this really limits his ability to take advantage of his passing because he can pretty much only pass from a standstill because he can't really hold his dribble. Chomche, like I said, isn't great at a lot of things on offense, but he will try them. Like, he doesn't make threes, but he will take them. I love this movement attempt. And again, it's pretty open. He has lots of time, but the fact that he's willing to attempt, and I've talked about how important volume and shot versatility are, and Chomche kind of has that in low volume, and he doesn't really score a ton around the rim, aside from just dunks, which of course, crazy, but he flashes the willingness to try some of these touch shots. And in the Global Academy, I believe his touch and like layup touch was a little bit better, where the touch is certainly inconsistent, as we saw right in the beginning, but there are flashes of good stuff. And Chomche is really like the flashes prospect in this draft. It's like, are you buying what he can do, or are you more worried about the concerns? And another really good heuristic that he passed was that he was incredibly good in the combine scrimmage. And I think these are more important data points than people kind of consider them. They're not everything, right? It's a small sample. But this is a setting that's unstructured. It's unorganized. A lot of players hide behind play design or coaching or their teammates. There's no room to do that here. When you don't know your teammates and you don't know the scheme and you're just kind of playing. And Chomche, especially being like one of the youngest person on the floor at all times, was so impressive, especially on defense. His playmaking really stood out. He gave Bona and all these other bigs a ton of problems. The movement skills popped as clearly special against future NBA players, which is a great sign. Like, this is just absurd shit. And I don't really have many clips of it here, but he was really sound positionally in the pick and roll. Like, he didn't do a ton of pick and roll defense in the pre-NBA sample that I've seen, but he reasons to be a crazy versatile upside guy because of his ability to track backwards smoothly and cover ground, and with his goalkeeper arms as well, right? But this is a project. Chomche is going to be a project, but I don't think any team drafting him is going to be surprised by that or unaware of it, or at least they definitely shouldn't be. But Chomche in a bad low upside draft without a ton of interesting swings, might be a pretty worthwhile upside pick. And he's been mocked all over the place, as high as like, like of course is linked to like Toronto at 19. I've seen him in the second round, but I would have no problem with a team taking him in the mid first round. Maybe I'm not going to have him ranked there per se, but the flashes are undeniable. I think the athletic tools are special enough with really impressive passing feel that there's enough there for me to bet on him becoming a monster defensive Swiss Army knife at his ceiling, but also have some utility as a playmaker, a structure playmaker, dribble handoffs, short roll stuff, maybe eventually. Probably won't space the floor. I don't really buy the shooting, but obviously awesome dunk lob finisher as well. I don't show it in clips, but he's a crazy dunker and dunk finisher. And I think that could be a useful rotation guy. Maybe with upside for more just because of the crazy tools and how young he is. But he's one of the guys who I'm most fascinated to see how their career pans out. I'm a huge fan of Chomche. He seems like an awesome dude from all the interviews and stuff that I've seen and heard. And I'm rooting for him. And if you are too, then hit that subscribe button, like, comment what you think of him. And if you're moved by these flashes, or if you're like, no, he's too raw, it's not going to work. Either way, I'd love to hear.